Must be an entertaining one.
I think we're good. I think we're good here.
All right. People in the chat now, can you hear us if we have sound?
Let
So we're
us
gonna wait.
know.
So again, I'm Moose, from co-founder of Occupy Fantasy. Brian, co-founder of Occupy Fantasy, and Jack from DFS Magic. Let's see. So I think YouTube is about a 10-second delay or so. So again, guys, if you can hear us, say yes. If you can't hear us, still say no sound.
I think we're good, Moose. I just listened on my end. I think we're good. So
Awesome. So we went through this whole spiel about how we're doing. I don't think you need to know how we're doing anymore. But Brian, we were just talking about Colorado. Up to 470 at some sports books was just nuts, and they're going to be absolutely stupid popular.
yeah. So just to kind of recap what I said when the sound was off, Colorado's money line has moved 85 cents. They're up to minus 420. We rarely see a favorite minus 300 or higher, let alone minus 400. And it's only a 7-game slate, which is only going to just exacerbate the situation. Their popularity is going to go through the roof. I was building some lineups before we went live on stream, and I was eliminating popular pairings. And I looked and I saw Colorado's projected ownership in our model, and I was like, I was about to text you, thought there was an error. And then I looked at their money line, their team total. I was like, oh, no, that's real. They're going to be that popular. So, Jack, I mean, both Grubauer, the goalie, and their skaters, everyone's going to look to play them tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Even on these big slates, we see how much these lopsided Vegas odds influence. We think it's other projections, other optimizers, and even on a large slate, we've seen a couple goalies crack 30% ownership on FanDuel. Again, because people are trying to play the guy that's going to win, and I would be shocked if he's not at or above 30. And then to your point, I think even with Matthews and McDavid on the slate, McKinnon's got to get up to 35, 40%. And it's just something to think about. It doesn't mean you can't play those guys, but it just means you have to think about how to get different if you're going to play them.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. I know one of the things you, excuse me, one of the things you talk about is on a popular stack, play their second line or maybe even their third line if you want to get crazy in a super large field contest. So that's definitely something that can be done. Brian, I also want to just point out that over at Circa in Las Vegas, the lines actually moved towards Anaheim. They're one of the sharpest sports books, if not in Las Vegas, if not the world, where they have Colorado minus 392. So my question to you or Jack is, are you playing any Anaheim?
I mean, it would be a disservice to OccupyFantasy.com for us not to play any Anaheim, right? Like, it's just it's something we have to do. It's a requirement at this point to do that. But I mean, again, like, it's just wild to me, right? Like, people are going to be betting Colorado in parlays, right? It doesn't matter what their price is; they're going to pay that in DFS. And Jack, I would just be utterly shocked if Anaheim doesn't score a goal within 5 minutes on Grubauer.
I know people watching this video too have seen us in Discord, but it's like we're kidding, but I swear, like 75% of the time there's a goalie like this, they get immediately scored on. It's just just watch it happen. But I think you're right. People just ignore. They don't think about what other people are going to do, and so they're just going to pay the price. They're going to pay for this. And to your point about playing Anaheim, I mean, they're going to be, even their top line is probably going to be 1% owned per player, if that. So if you're building, even 10 lineups, you can throw one Anaheim stack in and you still have leverage on the field. If you're building, 150, you can throw in 3, 4, 5, 6. You have huge leverage and you still didn't have to give up that much of your entries for them.
And do literally whatever you want with the rest of your lineup moves.
Yeah, exactly. And Claire has a question here. Let's see, $8,500 goalie. What could go wrong? Yeah, and as Kim points out, Colorado could down 1-0 and still be a minus 200 favorite, which is still crazy to think about. That's going to be a wild game tonight.
Yeah, very fair. By the way, if you noticed, you're watching this and you're like, how did Clary get that Occupy logo next to his name? How was his message highlighted? All you gotta do is click the join button right below this video. Gets you access to our YouTube membership, just $2.99 a month. Let you know in the chat that you're a member. Gives you access to the Occupy Fantasy emojis during the live streams, and then most importantly, access to the Discord channel where we're talking about NHL and other daily fantasy sports.
Absolutely. And Clary, if you could just flex on them and just put some of the emojis in with me, because I'm gonna do that. And if you could just flex on and put some emojis in to let people know what type of emojis they can get by signing up. Cool. So I'll kick this one over to you, Jack, and then I guess we'll head over to the lineup builder. But just looking here at the even strength dashboard here at OccupyFantasy.com, sorted by OF Index, there's a bunch of teams out after Colorado. I guess just in terms of OF Index, but was there any team that kind of really stood out to you upon first look, or I guess any line that stuck out to you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple. I think we're going to see highly exaggerated ownership for Colorado, and then obviously Edmonton, Toronto. So that's just going to by default leave some of these top lines that are still very good to be under-owned. The Occupy model favorite, San Jose, number 4 overall is actually kind of low for them. They're usually like top 2. They had some explosive games earlier. They've been quiet for a little bit. Pittsburgh 1, that is one that is frequently chalk, even when there's other good teams on the slate. 17% DraftKings, 7% FanDuel. I think that's a good target. We've seen Winnipeg doing well. I think those are probably big ones that stick out to me in terms of the ownership, versus rankings. I don't know, Brian, what do you see since you already built some lineups?
Yeah, for sure. The one that always pops out to me, and at least the last couple of days has been popping up in the lineup builder, is Toronto line 2 with Tavares and whoever they put alongside him. I think it's got Chinuk tonight, but they're super cheap. A cheaper way to get correlated access to Toronto's 3.5 goal total, and obviously a big break on ownership. Which lines did you have in your most recent FanDuel win?
That was a St. Louis and oh man, who was the other team? Was it Winnipeg? Maybe it might have been like No, I think it was Edmonton. It was Edmonton. Yeah, it was Edmonton power play, and then St. Louis 2. That was it. 4-4. Both of them have been St. Louis 2 actually. So it's Mitch Trubisky in NFL and Jordan Kyrou in NHL.
You're gonna have the weirdest jersey collection in a few years.
Kyrou, the legend.
And the members, we got to ask, did Brian pronounce that line 2 Toronto guy's name correctly? Because it sounded pretty good to me.
I thought it sounded pretty good too. I don't know if I got it right, but I felt confident coming out off my tongue.
Yeah, let's hope. I mean, because I don't think any of us can say if that's right or not. So, Brian, let's hop over to the builder. I'm gonna do the transition. Let's hope it doesn't absolutely just break everything. So we go to the lineup builder here at OccupyFantasy.com, powered by Jack's DFS Magic. Go ahead and log in for you, and we'll kick over to NHL. Brian, which one are we doing? DraftKings or FanDuel?
I think we did FanDuel last time, so let's work on some DraftKings tonight.
Perfect. Cool. So while it's loading up here, yeah, and Ken just
everyone's filling your identity moves with the login info.
Yeah, you gotta have one of those password managers. It's like every day I get something that someone tried to lock me out of my account because they tried too many passwords. I'm just like, this is great. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually switch over to the full screen. So we'll hide our faces, and then we will still have the builder on, but we'll just be full screen with the builder. So we'll see you soon, and hope this doesn't break absolutely everything, which of course it does, because why wouldn't it?
In the production value.
Yeah, it seems like once one technical issue happens, it just kind of ruins the rest of the stream. But we're on there now. Every time I have to upgrade the streaming software, everything breaks. And so gotta make sure you got it back to normal. So good here. I love these little pop-ups. Again, if you're new here to DFS Magic, definitely click the video tutorials button. It has a nice little playlist on how to use the lineup builder. It's really,
Jack,
really great.
Jack, by the way, I gotta say this is the most random update I've ever seen in DFS Magic.
Rakuten? Apparently it's the worst extension ever in the world. You can Google it and find people like complaining about how it crashes their browsers, but I don't know. Wish God we found the issue.
Yeah.
So if you do have that enabled, make sure you disable it, or it'll
take 10 seconds to check a box.
And it's funny, I actually have like a gaming PC that's meant to like play high-end games, and I download Rakuten, and it just wrecked my computer. And I was like, how? So yeah, don't have that installed if you're doing DFS Magic. So let's jump into it again. We'll go to the multi-builder tab. We'll say like we're going to create 150 lineups. We'll knock it down to like 45,000 for now. And again, like we always do, we'll go to the goaltenders and we'll just uncheck the most popular goalies here.
Zero
So
chance for Jack. No chance for playing Grubauer tonight, right?
I don't think so. I mean, I just there's no there's no point. I don't know. It just seems so. I'm even more in favor of playing every goalie, but that's just so ridiculous that like.
I mean, 33% projected ownership is wild, right?
That's
Like
wild.
sometimes we're a little off, and sometimes it's higher than we expect. But to be projected at 33% is crazy.
He's also doesn't strike me as good. I don't know. I just feel like I've seen plenty of games where he has like 15 saves and 2 goals allowed. I don't know. I don't watch hockey, but that doesn't seem that good.
Yeah, definitely right. So, and then I'll just thumbs up the next two people just to get someone in there. And then Jack, we always like to go to the stacks and just check everything here except the forced goalie. And if you have it, Jack or Brian, if anyone, the excluding stacks from the same lineup, you can just read off some of the popular stacks so we can put them in together, so they don't show up together.
Yeah, I got you. I mean, the fact is that Colorado is so popular that there's not many combos you need to exclude. It really comes down to definitely excluding Colorado 1. But then beyond that, it's not much else. It's just let me see here because we have
Philly 1, Toronto 2, Philly 2.
What was that? I couldn't hear you.
So Philly 1 for sure. I don't know if the pricing works out well, but they're both super chalk. I think these secondary lines you can kind of use your judgment. I mean, it says they're pretty popular, but like we can put them in Toronto 2, Philly 2, Vegas 1. I don't know. What do you think, Brian? You could probably draw the line there, or you could go down a few more.
That's where I cut it off. I mean, because Colorado is so popular, we have them projected freaking 51% total ownership that you can just stop it there. Vegas is 30%. We've been using the cutoff of 25, sometimes 20% on some slates when it's a little more balanced. But when it's this top heavy, you only have to eliminate a couple of combos. And given the pricing, we might not even be able to make any of these combos, but just to get it in there. It's good.
Cool. So went ahead and save that and go ahead and close. And I can't remember. Do we set the randomizer to high on the first setting? We do, right?
I think we do low to start just to see what the most optimal according to the model is.
Okay, and then we'll go ahead and uncheck D in the utility spot, and we'll go ahead and build lineups. Let's see how that works.
Question is, will Colorado 1 break the optimizer again?
Oh yeah. So Jack, while we're waiting for this to build, what are your initial thoughts on using Colorado? Are you just going to purely follow what the builder's giving us? Would you try to match the field, be under, over? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I don't have data to back this up, but where I end up most nights with McDavid, McKinnon, Matthews is under the field on the individual player ownership, but over the field on their wingers, which feels like it's right to me. Like if they bust, the field lost more lineups than I did, but if they crush, I have more fully correlated lineups than they did. And that seems to work out. I don't know. What is your strategy, Ben?
Yeah, I definitely think I end up way under, right? And even playing the single entry 3 max stuff, I'm way under. And a lot of times it's either playing, and it's something to think about because we say that the correlated lines are less owned, and they are for sure. But sometimes, especially on these smaller slates, 7 games compared to 10 or 11, I will play a power play stack, and whether that's using Kadri at the center instead of McKinnon, or just playing Kadri's line 2. I have a feeling I'll end up with a couple of those lineups tonight in my single entry 3 max, just based on what the builder's given us.
So the builder is actually giving us 75% Colorado on the low randomizer setting, which is definitely a lot. Definitely a
Which
lot.
is telling us, by the way, this is saying they're going to be high owned for a reason, right?
Yeah.
If we came in here and they're like 10%, like the field's way off here, but Vegas in the field, not surprisingly, are pretty on point, at least according to our model.
Yeah, and so I'm curious. So we have 75 Colorado, 37 Toronto, 28 Islanders. I wonder how that'll change if we change the randomizer to high.
Yeah, I'm curious too.
I think we'll see, some of these secondary teams flatten out a lot more, but we may still end up with 40 to 50% Colorado. And one thought on playing Colorado and try to get different is especially I think DraftKings people do it, but especially on FanDuel with the 4-player per team max, you're going to see a ton of people play the offensive 3 guys and Grubauer, and that's it. So
True.
just by playing a 4-man stack with the defender, or like Brian said, playing Kadri, you can make these very small changes and still get access to the really high upside stack, but you can eliminate competition against, over half the field or so.
Definitely.
If I did play Grubauer tonight, I 100% would not play him with a Colorado stack. That like you just said, Jack, that's going to be popular. That's something I would immediately exclude. If you want to play him in 2 lower owned stacks, I think that's probably fine. But zero chance you could find me 3 stacking, 4 stacking with Grubauer.
So cut it down a little bit with Colorado, added some new teams as well. Colorado down to 42, Toronto 29, Edmonton 26, Islanders 24. So I'll kick back to you, Jack. What's your thought on this allocation here?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of looks kind of what we would expect. You notice we still have 21 even ones, 9 power play ones to Colorado. So we're even on high randomizer. We're still getting almost 1/3 of our lineups with access to that Colorado 1 line. So again, like Brian said, the field is using them for a reason. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind this. I think this is a pretty good start. You see Pittsburgh get up there a little bit. San Jose checking in as well. Yeah, I think not a ton of surprises, Brian, other than yeah, I think not a ton of surprises. Maybe not as much Toronto 2 as we might have expected given the comments and what their ratings are.
Yeah, it's funny to me because when I built, an hour ago, I got a ton of Toronto 2, and maybe not just a ton of Toronto 2 overall, but the top projected lineups were Toronto 2. So Moose, maybe we check the team pair exposures and check the card view to see which teams are being represented the most, which combos.
Yeah, so if we go to team pair and we go to the very top, 8% of our lineups are Islanders and Colorado, and then Toronto, Islanders, Minnesota, Colorado, Minnesota, Edmonton. So it's like Minnesota and Colorado, the ones that are peeping up there.
Didn't we block Toronto 2 with Colorado 1 though? Because of the
We did, but we didn't block the power play, which I don't
okay.
think people will use. So if it's a Colorado power play or Toronto power play, we could end up avoiding it.
Yeah.
Which I think is the case. If you look at the card views, I'm almost positive, predict the future here, that we probably got some sort of Colorado power play with Toronto.
Yeah, let's see here. So I have the card view up. So if you want to go ahead and give me the players, I can filter it out to check that.
Let's see here. So I'm just looking to see. I'm just trying to find it on screen here. Oh yeah. So this lineup at the very end was number 6 here. We got Tavares and Kadri, and that's exactly what you see. Kadri. This is actually the line too. Kadri, Saad, and Burakovsky. So, but if you do like Kadri do Kadri and Tavares together and see which lineups we have them together in.
So you have 2 lineups with them in, and they're shown on screen here. I think it might be a couple seconds for you to see it.
Okay, give me 1 second. I saw the first one that was just 2. Yeah, it looks like they're both just line 2s together, Jack.
Yeah, and while you guys are watching Brian and Moose do this, I mean, this is exactly the way that we use the builder to help us build single entry or 3 max. So even if you can build 150 lineups purely as just a guide or a reference to back you up. You might start with hand building on your own just based on the model and your knowledge and reading the plug, and then you can use the builder as a check to see if those are the highest projected lines, to see what a more mathematical approach might give you, and then make your final decisions that way.
Yeah, and just to mention, like, obviously we're using the builder here, and we say this every week. But even if you don't have access to this builder, you have access to our model. You can get this. If you're playing just a couple of lineups or you're just playing one lineup, you can get here a lot of the ways by just looking at the dashboard we had up earlier and seeing which high ranking stacks are cheaper, lower owned, and trying to fit some of those with the more popular high ranking stacks. And a lot of times you'll end up finding these highest projected card view lineups. You're able to figure out and build on your own. So a couple of different ways to approach it, and a lot of times you'll end up with the same final result.
Yeah, you pretty much hit that there. Perfect. Jack, is there any last settings you want to do? Run it one last time.
I think we talked about how much ownership we'd get on Colorado. Why don't we let's just go back to the multi build and flip to Colorado and just look at our actual player exposures. And we can probably make a pretty good guess about where we are relative to the field with those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the builder, and I'm gonna check everyone that's not goalie and sort by exposure. And so here's our top exposed players: Miko, Gabriel, Kale, McKinnon, all above 20%.
Yeah, which is nice, right? And we see, like, I think we'll probably be around the field on the 2 line 1 wingers, but Jack will definitely be under the field. I know we have 17% projected. I think it'll be much higher. McKinnon at 20%, I imagine will be under the field on him if that's our exposure to him.
Yeah, I think this is sort of where I would want to be. Is even to slightly over on those wings. Probably going to be slightly over on Makar. And then we'll be under on McKinnon by a decent amount. And I forget if maybe these guys are not quite so highly owned on DraftKings. I know on FanDuel he'll be like 35% easy, but the pricing's tougher on DK. And then Kadri, 20%. That's probably what do you think? A little over the field, maybe.
Probably. And then just most importantly to me, I think I love having double the field's exposure to line 2. We get a team with the only team on the slate with a team total above 4. Obviously, the Colorado's line 1 is one of the most productive and most correlated lines in all of hockey. But in a hockey game, in a situation where the offense is expected to dominate, line 2 could easily put up 2 goals, and we get them at a fraction of the ownership, at a fraction of the salary. So I love being over the field on Kadri Burakovsky's side too.
Nice, cool. So we got just a couple minutes left, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring back the stack dashboard. I'm gonna bring back our faces while we talk and get up out of here. We switch back here. Boom, I'm good at doing that now. It only took me 30 minutes to get back on track with things. So our faces are back on screen. Brian, I'll kick it back to you one last time. Is there any last lingering thoughts about the slate or anything you want to add?
No, just as always, monitor the line changes leading up to lock. Make sure all the goalies are confirmed. If you missed it, I guess you probably did miss it at the beginning because I was muted, or we were all muted. I did record a podcast a couple hours ago with Nir Amata about his 100K win. And the nice thing about recording with him, like, he's super high level, analytically driven, critical thinker. So it's about a 30 to 45-minute conversation of just pure problem solving skills. And it's a really good interview. I think you guys will enjoy it a lot. That'll be in your podcast apps later tonight, up here on YouTube, probably tomorrow morning. But be on the lookout for that. And then I'm also excited for MLB on Thursday. And Jack, I think it was also muted at the beginning, but we'll have the builder ready for MLB on Thursday. Can't wait to use it.
Yep. Finishing touches on that. I think one thing we usually cover, Brian, high risk goalie pick tonight based on the model ownership.
I love it. So Grubauer, he's out. I'm not using him. Christ, we're looking at tough names here now. I'll go with Winnipeg's goalie is my pick. Mr. Connor. 4% projected on FanDuel, 5% on DraftKings. Line movement in his favor. Some analytics tell us that he's in a good high danger opportunity prevention spot. So Winnipeg's goalie is my high risk pick. Jack, do you have another one?
Anaheim, come on.
You're going full crazy now.
No, that's a good one. I think there's a lot of good options that are not named Grubauer tonight. But yeah.
Yeah, I would say
please win a GPP with Ryan Miller tonight. Thank you.
I was gonna say my pick. I hate playing Pittsburgh goalies, but Jari, Jack, you always talk about this before. We've talked about it before, where it always seems like there's an underdog or some sort of pick'em favorite that kind of just blows up almost every night. And minus 107, opposing team total has gone down almost a quarter of a point, so that could be a high risk option there.
I like him too, Moose.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, a lot of times these very close games from the Vegas odds go under owned just because the projections are driven by being a favorite so much.
Yeah, definitely. Cody's in the chat says, I've been trying this and just not getting it. I know we're supposed to get out of here at 5:30, but either one of you want to take a stab and maybe give Cody some advice?
I'll say this: it's a high-risk sport, like most DFS sports. It's not NBA. It's an event-driven sport, right? You can go days, sometimes weeks, without players, your team scoring a goal. In fact, I played a qualifier. I think it was Friday or Saturday, and my entire lineup was outscored by one player. They just got the shots on goal, didn't get the goals. The only thing you can keep doing is stacking as much as you possibly can. No one-offs unless it's on DraftKings, but just stack, 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 stack. If you do listen to the Nirmata podcast, the most important thing we talked about was minimizing the number of things you have to get right to win a DFS contest. And in NHL DFS, Jack, what that means is stacking two teams. If those two teams go off, you have a chance to win.
Absolutely. And Cody, it's tough. We had a really hot spell for a few weeks. We had a pretty cold spell for a couple weeks. We're kind of doing better lately as a group, because when the stacking does better, we've done better. But I think it also depends on the contest you're picking. If you're playing large GPPs or, if you're doing single entries, there's just some added risk there. So if you want to, post more details about questions or anything, we're always around. But yeah, like Brian said, it's a tough sport, but we do know that stack, stack, stack is the best way to win.
Definitely. Good stuff, guys. And so next time, we're not sure when the next one's going to be, but it'll definitely be sometime this week. But if you like what you saw here tonight, definitely go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and bell notification to be notified of when we go live in the future. If you really like what you do or what we do, hit the join button so you get access to really cool Occupy emoji, all the emails, and access to our Discord channel where Brian, Jack, the whole Occupy staff, and members are there. So until next time, Moose, Brian, and Jack from Occupy Fantasy and DFS Magic, have a good night.
Peace.